Skip is here technically, but he can't talk. So everybody needs to chat with him down below. Keep him entertained. And then I will just wing these things myself while I'm here. So today, what we have is a topic on annual reviews. And I find it funny that over the past few years that every fourth quarter, I get calls with people in a panic about, okay, I need to deliver something right now. And they'll say like, hey, can you just come show us how to do this really quick? Can you do a workshop for me? Can you do, and the list goes on. And the answer is yes. I am more than happy to do a workshop with people and help them figure out their fourth quarters, excuse me, or how to deliver things in a cohesive fashion, because a lot of your clients don't need to be met with quarterly. Some of them only need to be met with annually. But yeah, do we sound better off after a drink or two? Let's see here. I've got some whiskeys over here I can grab. Maybe one of these days for the afternoon on Thursday, I'll bring some whiskeys. We had a question from Richard, since it's 8 o'clock in South Africa. If it's okay, are you early or are you late? So next time I'll just have a glass of whiskey with me and we can call it late, and then we'll trade off, and I'll do coffee the next time we can call it early. So anyways, back to the topic of annual reviews. So annual reviews are actually kind of nice because you can do them in either a 60-minute chunk or a 90-minute chunk. And that's up to you and your customer, whatever they're expecting. And I'm going to show you kind of how a annual review kind of differs from a quarterly here in a few minutes. But I want to give you some context to the annual onlys. So most of your clients don't need a quarterly review. They're kind of just humming along. They're doing well. I think it's something Skip probably has the numbers better than I do. Like 60% of your customers just need annual reviews. Something like 20% of them need quarterly reviews. So with your annual reviews, you can pop in and do them on a Zoom session. You can do them on in person, bring them some donuts, make it something fun that they can do. Or you can offer them up as almost like a report. So you can like print out like the strategic report that we give you guys if you're a HIT subscriber. And that strategic report is meant to be readable, and you can just deliver that. So if you just want to spend like a week just cranking out annual reviews and sending them to your clients, you can. There's no reason why you cannot create that share button. So let's go over and just like work through an annual review process for one of our clients. So give me a second. I set up my fancy screen look here. Oh, there it is. I hate to say that I have too many screens, but I have too many screens. So what we have here is our favorite Joe's truck. And when you're doing an annual review, the difference is the window of opportunity here, what the context of the conversation is. So if you have our strategic services assessment, the strategic business review, you'll see that we, over to the left here, we actually have an annual agenda that you can flip up here instead of the quarterly agenda. And you'll see that it kind of really gives you a framework you can use. You don't necessarily have to use this framework, but it does work. So that in week 1, give yourself a strategy session with your clients. Week 2, audit all of your pillars, and then week 3, deliver it, and then week 4, present a budget. Get a project proposal, whatever your process is for project proposals. You can use the MSPL tool to do a project proposal, or you can use ConnectWise, Autotask, whatever you're doing project proposals in. So this kind of 4-week idea would happen in October. So last week, first week of October, you would have said, hey, let's meet together and talk about what's going on in your company. I prefer SWOT exercises. And if you want to know how to do one of those, I've got lots of videos on it in the channel. But that'll help you identify what's going on with your client and any opportunities for projects that would really help them. So do they need more help with webcams? Do they need more help with remote workforce? Those are things that you want to discover that first week. And that can be a quick call, a 30-minute call. It can be an in-person meeting with the CEO where you talk through business strategy. It's your comfort level for annuals. And then in the background, be running your tech stack audit, your not industry analysis. That's it is important, but running your tech stack audit. So making sure that you have your services alignment, your risk alignment, and your architecture alignments, and having those put together into that final strategic report, which you deliver to them. Now, if you fill out the executive summary here, which we have a nice little format for you, and you get the project roadmap going, that you recommend that you do all these things, kind of click through here, add in any costs that you think are going to be associated, whatever's included, just make a 0 on it, make it, it's $0. So you can just hover over and you can see it's 0, but it'll also be blank for them. Maybe someday we should make that a different color, but these are included. And then here are your projects that you recommend and when you recommend them. Now, once you're done with all of that, go ahead and hide this section. Hide this section. And then any project recommendations you can put here. So like anything you put down for cost, that's going to cost extra. Make sure you have an alignment down here. So you can tell them like, hey, they can read here through. And then finally, we don't want the monthly. Any results from that SWOT analysis, if you do one. This is for in-person discussion items. This is my Eisenhower matrix I use to help people just decide why you're going to do things now. Now for a QBR, this discussion at the very end is going to center around the last 90 days and the next 90 days. For an annual, it's going to be the last 12 months and the next 12 months. So your window of opportunity here is going to change. So now that you're in an annual meeting, you're talking about a much larger period of time. Quarterlies talk about 90-day windows. Annuals talk about 12-month windows. So you can come down here. We have a couple more sections. This is obviously a test client, but now we're good to go. So I recommend once you have this thinned out, just like this, exactly like this, that you come up here and you can do a public share and send this link to them. The cool thing is you'll get an email alert every time somebody opens and runs it. For those of you not familiar with that, this is if you want to do a no-touch annual review. This isn't going to net you as many sales as an in-person or a Zoom meeting like we're doing here. But if you want to do a no-touch annual review, you can do this in a little less than an hour and have this little typed up. This here, maybe put some effort into it, but don't make it much longer than this. Do not go for more words here. Less is more on these executive summaries, people. They're called a summary for a reason. This one page here should sum up everything that's going to happen below. So talk about the annual agenda. You can actually erase this if you want. If you don't put that in the report, you make it shorter and you just want to make this. I like putting the annual agenda in there. I think it looks nice. I think it helps the client feel a little bit more confident. Edit the actual timeline to what you want to use. But then come down here and make sure that these things are explained in the executive summary. This is really important for the no-touch annuals. Now, for an in-person annual, you're going to come in and you're going to talk through this stuff, but you're not going to show them the report. Guess what you're going to show them? You're going to show them the dashboard. So you're going to come in for an annual review and you're going to spend your time presenting on where is the client at the end of the year. Now, because they're working with one of you guys, the strategic section should be at around 80% because you haven't finished your annual activities yet. You're doing the last annual activity today. And so if you want to do a little gimmick, you can have the strategic report open off to the side. And then when you're done with the meeting, you can click it. So it's 100%. But the the overview of this becomes a lot of notes in here around what are you going to do with architecture in 2022. What are you going to do for services? Maybe they want to have 24/7 service now. Maybe they want to have something bigger going on next year. They really want to expand some of these things. And that's where in the annual review, you're really going to hit them hard. These project recommendations down below are expansions and are things that you did not get done this last 12 months that you're moving into this next 12-month window. So when it comes to service, hey, we're going to expand the help desk to 24/7 because we noticed this last year that a lot of after hour calls. So things like this, and you're going to tell them like, hey, this is all going on. It's going to be an increase of like what, $10 a node or whatever your track is. But here you've told them like, hey, we saw a lot of problems this last year with you guys having after hours calls as people were traveling more because of the pandemic or traveling or in different situations. And they really needed help while they were in airports, or they needed help while they were working remotely in the mountain cabins, whatever it was that drove this additional need. You put it in here, and therefore you can tell them during this annual agenda, how do we increase costs? And that's a big question behind everybody. When was the last time you increased costs for your customer? Have you increased it in the last 3 years? Like, oh, if I do that, they're going to walk away from me. Not true. I've been through this process with many clients before. When they see a value to the increase, then they're okay with it. They don't like random increases. You could do random increases of like standard cost of living, like 3.5% to 6%. You can do those occasionally. But when you want to add on services, when you say, hey, we're going to add on 12 help desk service, give you 24/7, you have it here. It's going to increase your target score up here and give you this much of a competitive advantage. So right now you're getting 6% competitive advantage. We're going to move you up to a 20% competitive advantage, because now when you're on the road and you're at a conference, you're getting the support from us and we're ready for you. Whereas your competitors are sitting there just floundering with their PowerPoint because they can't get to work. You are ahead of them. These things are how you increase costs with your annual reviews. So to get here, we go back to the agenda, have a business review session with them, figure out what their business objective is going to be next year, put it up here. Make sure that these projects here are solving problems for them for 2022. Get all this in there and then show them that, hey, your strategy should be almost complete by this time. Why is it at 25% on the ITCQ? Because on average, people aren't doing quarterlies. They're not doing much. But you're going to show them that, hey, you're all the way over here. Even with just an annual review and not doing the quarterlies, you're still going to be at around 60%. That's okay, because you're showing them way more. And if you do this for pre-sales, for those of you who've tried doing this for pre-sales so far, especially during the beta, you'll know that like, hey, almost everybody you are scoring for pre-sales is at 0 on strategy, which I think is why this number is so low right now. Because the incumbent isn't doing strategy with them. They're not doing QBRs. They're not doing annuals. They're just fixing their computers and walking out the door. And so that's how you're going to show them at the end of this annual strategy session. Look at where we are this whole year. We've really brought you up. So that is kind of an annual strategy session in a nutshell. The only other things you need to really worry about, and Skip's not here to make fun of me. He can't be vocal. Oh, I can't remember what I have up here already. Oh, same thing, same topic. So is that cadence. So that illustration that was just up there, that is the cadence. That is something that we talk about fairly frequently. And what you need to know is that when you're meeting for an annual agenda, if you have not walked into this client in a while, that whole delta T here, if you haven't touched point with them since like say March, there's going to be a pile for you. And you all know what this pile is. It's the shit list. And it's going to hit you. Now, if you can get ahead of this by emailing out your agenda for your annual agenda ahead of time and say specifically copy and paste the agenda you're going to have down here. So I recommend, and some of you have given me great feedback on this. If you copy and paste out your agenda for this meeting, then you're going to do much better. Now, we have moved from this format to more of a level 10 meeting. So if you guys want to know that format, just let me know. I should probably update the master template one of these days. But the idea is you start with a segue, you move into just a quick overview of what's going on with the client, and then you spend some time addressing any goals, a goal session with the client. Then you move into a section where you're going to discuss, here's what the roadmap looks like. Here's where we're going in 2022. Do you have any questions? And you spend about 20 minutes discussing that. And then you're going to end with a project proposal, and then you're going to ship that off. This little section here, just have a meeting agenda that you can follow and email that ahead of time. I cannot stress this enough. Email an agenda ahead of time. You will stop that big old pile since you have not met with this client since March. I guarantee you it will make things smoother. And then when you get to the meeting, you got to be a hard ass. You got to say in the meeting, like when they bring up that ticket that's overdue, and you're like, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to put that as a note. You write a note down at the bottom of your report, and you say, we'll address that at the end. If not, we'll address it after the meeting. And so you table that because you have a lot of things to cover in this next hour. So if you've been meeting quarterly, these shit lists tend not to be as bad. But for those of you meeting just annually, man, that pile, it really builds. While you're here, can you work on this? While you're here, can you do that? While you're here, let's talk about, and we really get irritated with that. So what we want to do with an annual only is you're going to have that spike of work that is, you know, they're here and it hasn't evened out. But if you send an agenda right before, then that agenda is going to absorb a lot of that impact. People will say, well, I really need to talk about why tickets aren't being processed. I really need to talk about this. Like, hey, you know what? That's a great one. Let me schedule another meeting over here to talk about the operational items. I will bring in my service desk manager and we'll talk it through. We'll schedule time with them. You just headed off all that crap, you know, over here. I don't have a brown marker, but I could do like a little poop emoji. You've taken that shit list and you've moved it over to where it needs to be. During this strategic session, you can then focus on selling your client without selling them. You can just tell them, here's the value add. So your annual agenda is your opportunity to talk to your client about what else you can do for them. Versus the quarterly agenda is more of an update on where are you and what are you doing next quarter. The annual agenda is like, hey, you have a contract renewal. We would love to get you into our new all-inclusive gold platinum plan. And we want to push that so that you have a bigger competitive advantage. And that's where that ITCQ score comes in. So this year is the first time you can say, hey, we want to get you to this new plan to get you more competitive advantage. I was just telling somebody the other day, like when you're doing using the dashboard to present to your clients, this ITCQ score is low. It's actually creeping up because some of you are actually starting to get some really cool scores in here. It's moved up a couple percentages faster than I thought it would. And I think it's because more people are deliberately moving to the architecture reports. We've also refined some of the math on the back end, but the the idea here is like, if your client is at 51%, if they're matching the ITCQ, that means they're in the 50th percentile. So for you math nerds out there, that means that they're as good as 50% of the workplaces worldwide. If they are at 92, we know for a fact that they are 41% competitive advantage. They have a 41% more competitive advantage in the environment than they do behind somebody who's just average. So you can use that as your narrative. Why do you want to get to the 92%? Because you really want them to have that advantage. You want them in this hyper competitive marketplace to be the best. And that's how you use the ITCQ during an annual agenda. You want to help them know that if they get to that 24/7 help desk, you're going to get them up a little higher. So we're trying to get them to here, that 38% increase or whatever that is. Sorry, I'm not doing my math in my head right. 50% increase. And it should not be that hard. So you're doing a 50% increase in competitive advantage for your clients. Now they're like, why would I want that much? Why do I need that much for 2022? Well, 2022 is going to be a crazy year, people. Everybody's kind of, the momentum of the economies are picking back up worldwide. We see it. You want to be coming out of this whole thing as a shining star, and we're going to help you get there. And that's your narrative to your clients. You don't want to settle for mediocre. Mediocre is 40%. Shining stars are up here. And that's what you get for working with us. So when you're in your annual agenda and you're trying to push these new projects on them, give them the context. We want to move you from that 51% where you're just, you're doing okay. I mean, you're 20% over, so you've got a little competitive advantage in the arena. But tell you what, if we can get that centralized shipping in place, you're going to be able to move so much faster. You're going to be able to act on deals faster, and we're going to help you get there. So there's your fun little narrative for an annual agenda. But back to the cadence here. My biggest, and I'm guessing I see a lot going on in the chat over here. My biggest tip, my pro tip for you guys, as somebody who has run a lot of QBRs and a lot of annual agendas throughout my entire career, this little email, this little agenda send out ahead of time, that is gold when it comes to not having distracted meetings. And if you really want to push it over the edge, make sure that you call them a 15-minute call a week before you have your annual meeting, just to say, hey, Sharon, we're meeting next week. Is there anything like pressing that operationally we need to talk about, like tickets that are kind of burning at you or issues that you really want some answers on? And because I really need to keep this meeting tight next week. And then they can be like, oh, well, here, and then they can dump on you if they need to. If not, then good. During the meeting, you can say, well, I solicited feedback before the meeting. That did not make it to the agenda. Let's talk about it afterwards. That's a great way to deflect while helping your clients feel heard. This will make them feel confident and will help them buy into what you have to say more. The last thing, really to cover here before I take a breather, is to make sure, strike first, strike hard. The new season of Cobra Kai is coming out. So for those of you who are big fans, take that to heart. You have to have your annual meetings early. If you think October is too early, you are wrong. Having the first person to the table, being the first vendor with your hand out, everybody's feeling optimistic because they haven't started crunching their budget yet. When you guys do your budget for your MSPs, do you feel like, oh man, this is great? Or do you think, oh crap, what am I going to do with how am I going to fit all this in next year? Even if you had a record year this year, you still have to think about, okay, who am I going to prioritize? Which projects are we going to take on next year? Where are we going? And the first person with a plan sets the tone for everybody else. So if you come in October when people are still not quite done with their budgets or not quite done with their proposals, you come in with a plan and they're like, oh, well, we haven't really decided what we're doing for 2022 yet, but this looks great. Now you're in top of mind for them. You beat them to their own thoughts. And now they have this proposal, they have this like nice view of how their lives could be next year. And it's niggling in their brain now. You are the first person to come to the table with a plan. And people tend to gravitate towards that. They like the confidence. They like knowing that somebody has a plan, especially right now with so much chaos. We've talked about this all year long. And maybe you are in a situation where you have not audited your client yet. And you're like, crap, I haven't been following the HIT plan all year. I did not do architecture in quarter 1. I didn't do service in quarter 2. I didn't do risk in quarter 3. And now I'm stuck here in quarter 4. You know what? It does not take that long to do these audits. They're pretty quick and they will net you a lot of extra cash. So just sit down and do one today and you'll see, oh, okay, that looks fine. And now I'm ready to go. And you're going to look like $1 million. And if you're in the middle of a meeting, in an annual meeting, and somebody brings up something, or maybe somebody during that pre-meeting said, hey, we talk about this at the annual agenda? Sure, that might result in a project. Hey, you know that PC that's been an issue for the past year? Let's just go ahead and pitch managed PCs. Let's go ahead and pitch, something that's going to solve that problem. And you can add that to here right in the meeting. And that's fantastic. So having that prep work done, having that feed in here and being able to dynamically add things to the agenda, that is something that is very, very important. But coming in early, having your pitch in October is going to win over more clients. Having your roadmap for all of next year done and in front of the client is going to win you business. Mark my words. If you don't believe me, try it. Pick your favorite client, walk in with this dashboard, upsell them on a couple things, and then come back and tell me I was wrong. They didn't listen. And what you're going to find is you're going to walk in there with the confidence and with this plan on how you're going to help their business grow. You're going to use this ITCQ score and you're going to come out and go, holy crap, they bought it. There's no reason you can't do this. And it's not, you're not selling. You're just explaining to them how you're going to improve their business, how you're going to help them make more money, how you're going to give them a competitive advantage through technology. That's what you're going to do. And by the end of the meeting, you're not going to feel like you've sold anything, but they're going to be on board. Oh, how much does this cost? Oh, it's just an extra, $10 a PC. Oh, it's just an extra, we want to move you up to the silver plan and you're going to score from here to here. And that's great. And that's an annual plan for you. It's that whole selling without selling. You're just walking in and showing them what could be. And that annual plan, if you really want to fill some extra time, show them where they were. So, and then show them where they're going. The one weakness of the dashboard is that it does not do a great job of what the reports do. The reports do a great job of, with the snapshots, being able to show this is where you were last year. Here's where we're going to take you next year. So you can do that in the snapshots with the strategic business review. You can show a snapshot of where they were strategically last year and where they're going to be next year. That's something that is great here. We don't do that with the dashboard quite yet. If it's something you guys really feel is a value add, send me an email, send Skip an email, let us know. But this is all forward thinking. This is all about 2022. It's all about the next year. Where are you going to take them over the next 12 months? What projects are you going to get done for them for the price you're pitching them? So if it's going to be $20,000 a month and you want to bump them up to $22,000 a month, what are they getting for it? How are they going to increase? What competitive advantage are you going to take them and give them? They don't care so much what these things are below. They care about this green bar right here. I know it sounds dumb, but it's the truth. They care about that green bar, that competitive advantage that you're going to give them. Is it going to cost them an extra $5,000 next year? Sure. No problem. Because I know I'm getting more competitive advantage. It's very simple to them. I hope Skip's answering your guys' questions in the background here. So it's just really important that you all understand that an annual review is more about selling new services, about preparing for the next year. A quarterly is all about a status update on where we were and where we are. In the HIT framework, we tend to break the year into quarters, and we tend to go with architecture in Q1, service in Q2, risk in Q3, and we do our strategic fourth quarter where we're delivering what are we going to do the next year. So the QBRs for each quarter are focused on those pillars, but they still have an overall focus of the 90 days around them. Your annual review is your time to shine and upsell and course correct clients without actually being like, hey, you know what? You guys need to move to HP laptops because that's what we have now. Don't worry about that. What you need to tell them is that, hey, to get a competitive advantage, you dipped last year because you're not using standardized hardware and it's causing a lot of confusion. And so your competitive advantage is less now because you're not on the standardized hardware platform. We would like to get you there. It's an extra $2,000 a month. We know you can afford that, and it will make things much easier for employees. So you become an employer of choice, which is a huge thing for 2022. For those of you who are not in the know there, people are having a hard time hiring right now because the marketplace is so much more competitive. And so you want to be an employer of choice where you're the place to work, so having things like, hey, we're going to make you more competitive in the workplace so that you can hire higher quality people. That is another selling point to the ITCQ score. So what I want you guys to focus on is annual review, sell without selling. Just show them how you're going to help them grow. And then at the end, when it comes to the project proposal portion, you can then say, oh, it's an extra 20%. And we're going to get you here. That you've made it simple for them. They can see what they need to do and they can go forward. Striking first, striking hard, making sure that annual review happens early. Don't wait for Christmas. Everybody's busy at Christmas. It's crunch time. A lot of the budgets are strained as it is. They're looking for places to cut. You don't want to be one of those people. You want to be one of the first people at the table. So you're the big thing happening next year. And then finally, your annual project roadmaps will empower your revenue. You have to have that roadmap. In Q1, we're doing this. In Q2, we're doing this. In Q3, we're doing this. That way, when you walk in and do QBRs with your bigger customers, they look really professional. How are we doing for time here, Skip? We need Skip to get his voice back. It's much easier. So with that, I want to leave everybody with it. This is going to be a great year. 2022 is going to be awesome for you guys, but you have to be prepared for it. You have to walk in with confidence that you have a plan. And I firmly believe that the dashboard we have built is going to get you there. It's going to make you feel professional. It's going to make you look professional. It's going to help your clients have a lot more confidence in you. And even if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to walk in and you're going to at least look like you do. The big core of the dashboard that we're trying to get everybody to know is it makes great MSPs look awesome. It makes poor MSPs look like they don't know what they're doing. But if you are a good MSP, if you've got great engineers, you've got great staff, this thing is going to take you to the next level, and it's going to show your clients that you're going to help them go to the next level. And that's going to make stickier, and that's going to make them buy into your projects more. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to Skip or I. We're always here for you. You can reach out to coaching@virtualc.biz, or you can reach out to Skip or I in the chats, and we will set up time for you to help you make these a success. Your success is our success. We are very excited about this next year. We're very excited for what's going to come up. We're really excited for your feedback. And it's been a heck of a ride so far, and we're so excited for what's coming up next. We'll see you guys all later.